It's over the rail tracks. There is an open door. Porcelain pans lean against the wall, some decorated, some plain and ready to buy. I explain what I'd like, and the fingers of the young woman in charge fly over the abacus as she notes the thickness of each tile, its length, the timescale. I produce a roll of notes, and she smiles. I worry about quantities. This is my only chance to get these made, so I double the order just in case, and then double it again. It is 3 in the morning. I try and count pots. This is what I do to get to sleep. I count the pots that I made on my own in my first independent workshop on the Welsh borders. I moved there straight from university. My friends were in London with jobs, writing, partying, and I was making dishes. Unglazed, rough oatmeal brown on the outside and green on the inside. Pots to disappear into the landscape. No one bought them. My Herefordshire tally comes to 42 firings over 2.5 years. 12 total failures, a couple of thousand broken up for shards, and a pathetic income. I needed to find somewhere cheap and far away. This led me to Sheffield. It was 1988, and the city was in a terrible way after a decade of decline in steel. I found a house and workshop that had been used as a carpenter's shop. The very first pot I made was a porcelain jar. The porcelain was sticky. It wouldn't draw up. I wanted to make a porcelain jar that floated, but this felt like being 12 again in a school uniform with an apron. My jar was a few inches high and heavy. I glazed it white. We're on the way to the airport. We stop in what might possibly be a research facility that the East Germans started and abandoned. Amongst all the kitsch, vast porcelain vases with kittens, I catch sight of Mal's Imperial tea set. It consists of an ovoid teapot, teacups on saucers, a sugar bowl, a coffee pot, and a wine ewer and cups, some cake plates, and a cake stand. All in bright, radiant, good morning revolutionary white, with candy pink sprays of peach blossom across each one. The story is this. Mao liked presents, and Jun, having offered tributes in the form of many thousands of Mao busts, had yet to receive a specific request from the great leader. So in the late 1960s, the Jiangxi party started to think about what would be appropriate. A new seam of clay of startling purity had been discovered in Fuzhou, and this was mined, refined, and prepared. The records trembled with anxiety. The 10 tons of raw materials were found to be insufficient, and Red Guards were transferred to the project to speed up the refining. Then came the agonizing decision about what they could make. This was a revolution, so no vases and no goldfish pots. It had to be useful and skillful and new. A tea set. 22 kilns were fired over the next 6 months, and 2 sets of 138 pieces were finally delivered to the Mao's compound in Beijing in early September. He approved. On the plane back to Shanghai, there's so much porcelain carried on by the passengers that the overhead lockers are filled, and the lavatory is requisitioned and stored. I sit next to a charter man who works for the Pakistani Air Force. Jun makes helicopters, he tells me. He's bought a model for his 5-year-old son. Then I realise why dozens of model AC-313 helicopters have also been brought on board. I've missed the helicopter side to the city. He missed the porcelain.
And tomorrow, Julian Rhind-Tutt reads part 2 of The White Road by Edmund de Waal. The book's been abridged by Julian Wilkinson, the producer was Gemma Jenkins. The new flat-rate state pension comes in soon, but thousands of women won't be able to access the full amount that others will. After the news, Woman's Hour explains why.
Our sea has become a new Dead Sea.
Swim! Swim! You can make it!
A new drama.
To you by... It is an affront.
What are you doing?
What?
This isn't the script.
Our Sea by Ronan Bennett. On Thursday afternoon at 2:15, and then available on the BBC Radio 4 website.
BBC News at 10 o'clock. The Chancellor, George Osborne, who's in Beijing, has said that a deal to try to secure Chinese investment for a new nuclear power plant represents a partnership that's good for both countries. The government is offering £2 billion of loan guarantees to convince the French energy company, EDF, and two Chinese partners to invest in Hinkley Point C in Somerset. Alzheimer's Research UK has warned of a looming national health crisis after a study suggested that 1 in 3 people born this year will develop dementia during their life. It said the rise was due to the ageing population. Dr. Matthew Norton is from the charity. He says more money is needed to develop new treatments.
All too often there's a stigma around dementia which suggests that it's just something that happens to you when you get old. You start losing your memory, you get a little bit doddery. In fact, it's a disease that is caused by a number of diseases, and as soon as we realise that as a society, that then leads to the conclusion we can do something about it, and what we can do is invest in the innovative research that will deliver us those treatments.
The leader of Greece's left-wing Syriza party, Alexis Tsipras, is expected to meet the country's president this afternoon after winning the general election. He'll form a coalition with a small right-wing party. The Northern Ireland Secretary, Theresa Villas, is due to reconvene talks to try to overcome the political deadlock. All 5 main parties are expected to attend the negotiations. Every Democratic Unionist minister, bar one, resigned their post in protest after police said that members of the IRA were involved in a murder last month. Labour's deputy leader, Tom Watson, has dismissed claims that some of his party's MPs may defect to the Liberal Democrats in the wake of Jeremy Corbyn's election as leader. He said this would be like leaving the Beatles to join a Bananarama tribute band. And shares in Volkswagen have fallen by more than 15% after it admitted rigging car emissions tests in the United States. The Environmental Protection Agency in the US says the company could face penalties of up to $18 billion. BBC News.
With the dramatised correspondence of Ada Lovelace, the young Victorian woman who predicted our digital age, after Woman's Hour with Jane Garvey.
Good morning, welcome to another busy week on the programme. Hope you had a good weekend. Today, women and pensions. No, don't turn off. This is what you need to know, even if you'd rather not, okay? It's important stuff, and we'll talk about this in a moment or two. Also, of course, we pay tribute to the late, great Jackie Collins.
I think that a lot of men write like gynecologists, and I never wanted to do that. I wanted to write sex that was erotic, sex that would get the reader's imagination fired up.
And sex that the women enjoyed.
Exactly. And strong women, and equal sex. So I've always been very much a feminist, but in a different kind of a way.
Jackie Collins, you can hear more from that interview on the programme today. We'll also talk to Tiffany Watt-Smith, who's the author of the book of Human Emotions. Have you ever suffered from ring-anxiety? I bet you have. Keep listening to find out more about that. And we'll talk too to the artist who sat in on a consultant's conversations with men who'd had erectile dysfunction, so he could then go on and create a theatrical experience about this most sensitive of subjects. That's all on Woman's Hour this morning. Now, are you a woman born on or after April the 6th, 1953? Well, you're in the money, in theory. The coalition government introduced the new flat rate pension, which comes in next April. And if you look on the government website now, it promises a weekly pension of no less than £151.25 a week from next April. This new system was meant to be fairer. In reality, it's feared that less than 100,000 women will get the extra money compared to over 1 million men. Let's talk to Dot Gibson, the General Secretary of the National Pensioners Convention, and also here Josephine Tombo, the FT's pensions correspondent. Dot, first of all, good morning to you. What are your concerns?
First of all, I mean, the government's own figures show that